Hello kids, welcome to KidZone Konnect. It's good to see you here. Don't you just love to read a good book? I just love a good story. Bedtime stories was always a really sweet time with my kids. The best storyteller is Jesus. Jesus told lots and lots and lots of stories, always about God and about the kingdom and what heaven was like. So this summer we're going to look at some of his stories. They're called parables. And so last week I looked at the story of the seeds. Do you remember there were 4 kinds of seeds? The farmer went and scattered the seeds and they landed in 4 places. And some of them landed on the path and the birds came and ate them. And that was like people who hear about Jesus but they don't understand. So then the second seed landed in the rocks. They started to grow, but there wasn't any soil, and so they kind of died. And so that was about people who hear about Jesus, but nothing really happens. Then the third kind of seed was about the seed that landed in the thorns, and the plant starts to grow, but then the seed gets choked out by the thorns. And those were the people who hear about Jesus, but then they start to worry about life and about the problems they have and about money, and they worry and they don't start to follow Jesus. And the fourth kind of seed was about the seed that landed in good soil, and it began to grow and there was much fruit that it produced. And that was the good seed that lands when people hear about Jesus and they receive it and they begin to follow him. So that was last week. Well, this week, Jesus continues to talk about gardening and he talks about weeds. So we're in Matthew 13, just like we were last week, just a few verses later. And here's my friend Azzy. He's going to read the story for us.
Hi everyone, I'm going to read you Matthew chapter 13, verse 24 to 30. Then Jesus told them another story. He said, "The kingdom of heaven is like a man who planted good seed in his field. That night, when everyone was asleep, his enemy came and planted weeds among the wheat. Then the enemy went away. Later, the wheat grew, and heads of grain grew on the wheat plants. But at the same time, the weeds also grew. Then the man's servants came to him and said, 'You planted good seed in your field. Where did the weeds come from?' The man answered, 'An enemy planted weeds.' The servants asked, 'Do you want us to pull up the weeds?' The man answered, 'No, because when you pull up the weeds, you might also pull up the wheat.'"
Wow, Azzy, you did a fabulous job reading that. Thank you for doing that. But what did it mean? What does Jesus mean about weeds growing up with the plants at the same time? Well, I have actually an illustration. My daughter sent me some seeds from BC, and they're called wildflower seeds. So a few weeks ago, I kind of scattered them here, and I planted them, but I really don't know what to expect because I've never planted them before. And there's things that are coming up that look like they might be flowers, and then there's things coming up that look like they might be weeds. I'm not sure what's what. So what I've decided to do is to leave it. I'm not going to pick anything. I'm just going to let it grow. I'm going to let the weeds grow with the plants. And I believe the flowers are going to be stronger than the weeds. And in the end, I'll have a beautiful garden. Let me show you another example. I have some sand here from Petrie Island. Don't you love going to Petrie Island or the beach? So fun. So let's say the sand represents people who don't know Jesus, people who don't follow Jesus. And then I have some cork here. And this represents people who love Jesus and who try to follow him to the best that they can. So Jesus didn't want us to live in separate bowls. He wants us to live together. He wants us to love one another and be kind to one another. Now what happens is sometimes people who don't know Jesus, they can be kind of bullies. They can hurt. They can say things that hurt you. They can be mean. But our job is to love them and to forgive them and still be kind to them And Jesus says that at the end, when he comes back, this is like Jesus coming back, when he comes back, he's going to separate those. He's going to separate those who love him from those who don't. And you can see how the sand is just staying, but the people who love Jesus are rising up to meet with Jesus. So that's what the story means. Now, here's my friend Sam to give you your soccer skill for the week. I love you guys. Big hugs.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Soccer Camp, more or less. This is your quarantine challenge. Last week, I taught you guys what a scissor is. Does anyone still remember how to do it? If you do, I'd love to see you send your videos in to Greenbelt's Facebook page. I'm gonna do a scissor this week just to remind you guys what it is. So, you wanna pretend you're going one way, but really you go the complete other. So what you do, you put your foot over the ball and use your other foot to knock it away and go the other way. Now let's look at it a little faster. Ready? Just like that, guys. All right, now I'm gonna teach you your move for this week. So if you don't already, maybe go get a ball, but don't do this in your house, just that you can kind of get the idea of it. Take some mental notes to remember how you can do it later outside. Okay, so this move is called a step over. It's really the exact same as a scissor, except you're going inside instead of outside. It's the same concept. We're trying to confuse the opponent to make it look like we're going one way, but really we go the completely other way so that they get all confused and you get around them. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take, I'm gonna say your right foot, depending on what feels more comfortable, and you're gonna put your foot over the ball and lean into it. You have to really make it look like you're going one way. So go completely that way. Yes, I'm gonna run this way. Make it just completely confuse your opponent. But then really, you're gonna move that foot and boom, go the other way. All right, let's see that again. So take your right foot, step over the ball, and boom. Now, let's do it a little faster and see if I'd confuse my opponent. Ready? So, you can even try dribbling up with it. So just dribble the ball a bit, and step, boom! Do you think I'd confuse my opponent there? I sure hope so, and I can't wait to see you guys confuse your opponents as well. Send your videos in of you doing a step over or a scissor to Greenbelt's Facebook page. All right, that's it from me for Soccer Camp this week. I love you guys so, so, so much. Bye, everyone.